This is where the actual break-in happened. As you can tell, we kind of have a lot of stuff right here, mainly this trailer that's kind of blocking the view from the camera, so that's why we didn't catch this. You can see somebody cut directly through this fence right here and pretty much made their own path.
There's a specific feeling you get when a YouTube channel you used to really enjoy starts feeling more like a storefront than a passion project. It's hard to explain exactly, but once you notice it, it's kind of hard to ignore. And for a lot of Goonzquad fans, that feeling started creeping in somewhere over the last couple of years.
This Project Gamma twin turbo kit up close and personal, because it is just a work of art. We're gonna go ahead, crack open this hatch right here and look at the beauty going on in here,
Oh
man.
my goodness.
Which is a strange thing to say because on the surface, the channel looked completely fine. Simeon and Eleazar were still showing up, still buying wrecked cars at auction, still doing the work. The projects kept getting bigger, the numbers kept climbing, and by May 2026, they were sitting at around 2.84 million subscribers with over 1,100 videos. That's not a channel in trouble, that's a channel that made it. But the people who had been watching since the early days were clearly feeling something that the numbers alone couldn't explain. To understand why, you have to go back to what made the channel click with people in the first place. Because it was never really just about the cars and YouTube. It was about two brothers working out of their parents' garage in Tennessee, figuring things out as they went, and actually showing the slow, unglamorous side of rebuilding a wrecked car. Goonzquad just felt honest. That honesty is what built the audience. And it's also why the way the channel has changed has been a bit of a hard pill to swallow for a lot of the people who were there early on. To get a better handle on what is happening with the channel today, we have to look back at how it all started. That beginning actually explains everything. It all started on December 16th, 2015, when the very first Goonzquad video dropped. It was just a simple drift quad video, which is a far cry from the content they make now. Even so, the vibe of that first upload is exactly why they became successful. We were just watching two guys who love building things and decided to film it. They had no real strategy or master plan back then. It was just a camera pointed at whatever they were working on that day. This eventually led to a slow move toward cars, which happened in the most unglamorous spot possible. They started working out of their parents' garage on cheap Hondas and whatever else they could find. Since they did not have any formal training, they were learning how to rebuild cars by actually doing the work in real time. And the best thing about it was that every single mistake ended up on camera. If something went wrong, we saw it. They did not try to edit out the failures or make things look perfect for the sake of the video. That level of openness is what the audience really loved, especially because most car videos at the time felt so different. Goonzquad landed in a much more relatable spot. Watching them felt like watching someone you actually knew, and you could imagine yourself doing exactly what they were doing. That kind of connection is one of the most powerful things a channel can build. It is the reason longtime fans always talk about the Mustang build as the real starting point. They are just missing the feeling that what they were watching was 100% realistic.
So we actually just won a new build, guys. It's gonna be awesome. This is one I've been waiting for a long time. Super exciting. 2017 model. Really just need to take it to a frame machine, take all this apart.
The trouble is, success on YouTube almost never rewards staying the same. The algorithm loves when things get bigger, so we watched Goonzquad do what every growing channel does. The projects got more ambitious, the cars got much more expensive, and the stakes for every video just kept climbing. By 2025, everyone was talking about their attempt to fix a totaled one-of-one McLaren Senna. That car was once worth over $1 million, and they reportedly dropped $351,000 just to get it at auction.
We are gonna be rebuilding this UFO, a super rare one-of-one McLaren Senna.
We're the highest bidder. Dude, if we could take it home for under 350, I'd be the happiest. We're going all the way to 350.
High bidder.
Come on, let it go. Please, please, please.
Somebody's
Nobody.
Let's go, dude! Now let's see if they give it away.
Around that same time, their rebuilt Lamborghini Aventador went viral for all the wrong reasons when it started visibly melting during its first test drive. For a normal mechanic, that is a total disaster, but for a YouTube creator, it is the perfect viral moment.
That might catch on fire. You see that? That's oil, like that soaked into that fiberglass, like fireproof stuff. It might catch on fire.
That specific tension is exactly what longtime viewers started noticing. It made people feel a little uneasy. When you are just two guys in a garage working on a cheap Honda, a setback is just a setback. It costs you some time and a bit of money, and then you fix it. But when you are rebuilding a $1 million McLaren with a crew watching, that same setback becomes a scripted episode. The audience started sensing that shift in the incentives long before they could put it into words. At a certain point, the build is not just the work you are doing anymore. It becomes the reason the camera is there in the first place. Once you cross that line, it gets really hard to keep the work and the production separate. Of course, the jump to massive projects is only one part of the story, and it might not even be the most worrying part. The second part involves the legal and operational mess that the brothers actually made public themselves. It sounds strange to say, but they used their own video titles to show the chaos. We saw videos like, "We got kicked out, moving everything from our parents' house," where they explained that the county had issues with their original setup.
The main reason why we moved all the stuff off of parents' property is because basically, I think one of the neighbors complained and complained to the city or something.
Basically, city kicked us out.
Yeah.
Then there were videos around their court case after a situation with unregistered vehicles on their property that led to a court date in March 2022. And while they handled it responsibly and settled everything without fines, the fact that it happened at all was a sign. It painted a picture of a business that was growing much faster than the actual space and rules could keep up with. This pattern kept going with videos like, "The new Goonzquad garage got shut down," followed quickly by "New Goonzquad garage is back in business." Those titles tell you everything you need to know about trying to run a massive, famous car shop in Tennessee while dealing with local permits and zoning. None of this is particularly shady on its own, and it is pretty common for a business of this size. But for an audience that grew up on a story about two brothers with a simple, relatable path to success, a different story started to show up between the lines. It felt like the operation was getting much messier and more legally tangled than the polished thumbnail suggested. Even more recently, in February 2026, someone actually broke into their shop. They had a 24-hour camera system, but a truck blocked the view during the break-in, so we never got to see what really happened. The weirdest part is that nothing was even reported missing. Like they always do, the guys tightened security, reorganized, and turned the whole thing into a new video. But that break-in is just one more data point for the fans. It is another piece of the puzzle for viewers who are trying to figure out what the Goonzquad operation actually looks like behind the produced version of it. And that brings us to the giveaway and merchandise system. I want to spend some real time here because this is where the conversation gets genuinely interesting. The current Goonzquad storefront is no longer just a place to buy a hoodie because you like the channel. Instead, it is transformed into a structured sweepstakes machine. Buying products is now the central mechanic of the entire operation. If you look at the official rules for Giveaway 29, they do mention that no purchase is necessary to enter, but the system is clearly built around shopping. Online purchases automatically generate entries, usually at 1 entry per dollar, but bonus periods can multiply those numbers by 10 or even 100 times. To see how that looks in practice, you just have to check the shop. Right now, a $20 pair of socks can net you 2,500 entries thanks to a massive multiplier. You can also buy a $50 fishing pole for 6,250 entries, or even grab some turbo hot sauce to boost your chances. The stakes are huge too. The grand prize for the May 30th drawing is a choice between a 2016 Lamborghini Aventador plus $50,000 in cash, or a straight $250,000 check. There is a detail in the fine print that feels particularly strange though. The rules state the car is awarded as is, and might not even pass safety or emissions tests in certain states. It is a tough pill to swallow from a channel that built its name on the idea of restoring wrecked cars to a safe, roadworthy condition. Now, I want to be very precise here because the details matter. There is a massive difference between a professional sweepstakes with official rules and an illegal raffle. Goonzquad has the paperwork and the professional administration to prove this is a legitimate promotional system. Everything is handled by a third-party company to keep things legal and above board. The real issue for the audience is not actually about the legality of it all. It is about what this system reveals about how the channel has changed. The official About page calls the brand authentic, while pitching these giveaways as a way to deliver dreams. Seeing that word authentic tied so closely to a sweepstakes for hot sauce is where the gap between the old and new Goonzquad becomes impossible to ignore. The original formula was simple: watch a build. The modern version is more of a cycle. Watch, shop, enter, and repeat. You keep watching just to stay invested in the game. This shift in the business model is creating a real divide in the community, and you can see it clearly in the comments. On Reddit and in broader car communities, people are being much less kind. One thread described the modern Goonzquad as a weird mix of QVC and a raffle house. Another user claimed the channel is all about the money now. This criticism is actually part of a bigger conversation about where car YouTube is headed as a whole. Many enthusiasts now describe these giveaway-heavy channels as nothing more than long commercials. They see the sweepstakes systems as simple cash grabs and worry that the constant selling is ruining the one thing that made YouTube feel different from traditional TV. And now finally, we have to talk about content drift. This is the third part of the story, and it is the one that seems to hit longtime fans the hardest. The brothers never stopped rebuilding cars, but the channel started filling up with house tours, massive garage construction projects, jet boat experiments, and all kinds of stuff that had nothing to do with why most people subscribed. Fans who showed up for the grind of a real build suddenly had to wade through a lot of content that felt like a completely different channel. One viewer put it pretty simply by saying the audience would watch them rebuild almost anything, and that they didn't need every project to be a supercar. That comment says a lot about where things stood. The property and lifestyle content reportedly hurt their views, and it's not hard to understand why. People came for the honest, satisfying process of fixing a wrecked car, and when that stopped being the clear center of gravity, a lot of them quietly drifted away. As of mid-May 2026, the channel is still massive and still very active. The McLaren build is ongoing, the giveaways are still running, and the brand is still pushing forward. But the relationship with the original audience has visibly shifted. The rebuilt car world already sits under a lot of scrutiny, given how complicated salvage titles and vehicle histories can get, so when the business side of the channel grows this large, people start reading everything a little more carefully. The audience that once just enjoyed watching a build is now watching to figure out what the channel actually is. That question, more than any single controversy, is what's following Goonzquad around right now. Tuna, no Crust, signing off.